character was Shio. She was a tech specialist in Jerry's Star Wars campaign. Two things you need to know to understand this story about Shio. First was she had the ability to see possible futures, and the second was she invented a lot of weird things. One of those things being riot foam. And what that was a grenade that spilled out this foam that then hardened into like a concrete-like substance. So, Shio and Samael, another player character, were tracking down Zarina, a third player character who had gone rogue and needed to be stopped. And as they are tracking her down, they come across her top general, Sky, an immortal warrior who had fought and won more battles than Shio as an engineer could even hope to see. So, Shio and Samael were kind of discussing how to approach this battle so that they could defeat Sky, and Shio did her future seeing ability, and any possible future where they went in and were attacking, Sky obliterated them, killed them, no chance. So, Shio came up with an idea. What if we don't attack him? Shio told Samael, give me about 5 minutes, and then enter the room. She went into the room, her arms up, and Sky, not taking her seriously because she's an engineer, charged at her with his sword. As his sword pierced her skin, she pulled the pins on 2 riot foam grenades, encasing both of them in riot foams, his sword like an inch from her heart. And at that point, Shio just told Samael, go forward, and he was able to capture Serena without any other instance, and this is one of my favorite stories for Shio because it kind of showed her ingenuity in her inventiveness in game.
I have to say my favorite character was Shawn, who was a Force Adept in our friend Jerry's Star Wars campaign. Shawn was my first character that I ever played. It was the first role-playing game, and I had these crazy cool Force powers. The game actually ran for about 10 years out of game, so I grew attached to this character pretty well. There's a lot of different stories that I could choose. It's kind of hard to pick one. But if I had to guess, it'd probably be the day I had amnesia. I had woken up on my bridge and no memory for the last 48 hours. I kind of had to guess and question my bridge crew, who looked absolutely exhausted as to what was going on, only to find out that I myself had ordered a 48-hour training session, so no one had any sleep within that period of time. Afterwards, I realized that I should probably find out why I had amnesia, so I went back to my quarters and I kind of reviewed the tapes, if you will, the security feeds of where I had been. And I saw myself playing with one of these items from what I had, the Hall of Mysteries. The Hall of Mysteries was a room, a black box on my ship, where I stored everything that was absolutely evil or Force-dependent, and I had no idea what it was, so I kind of threw it in this room that was impossible to break into or out of. It had turned out that there was a crown that I was playing with that had caused the amnesia. But in order to kind of recollect what I had done that day, I kept going through the footage, and I worked my way backwards until I found myself waking up in the morgue. Now, at this point, it dawned on me that the only me in the morgue was an identical dead version of me that I had found probably about 10 episodes prior in a search check of a really big store. And it basically, I had asked the game master if I could find the coolest thing in here if I got a natural 20, which I did. And he pointed me to a replica of my starfighter with a replica of me, which was dead. And at the time it was cool because it gave me a special pendant that I had and wanted a second one of. So, at this point, I'm not sure if I'm me or if I'm the other me, which was very exciting out of game, so I kind of ran into my quarters only to find the other me, which was the real me, you can see why this gets confusing, who was attached to a holocron that he had created. This holocron is special because our DM went off book for a lot of things. He tended to give us a lot of what we asked for, and I had asked for a holocron that you could put your soul into to expedite the training process. So here I am, not sure if I'm me or not me, barging into my quarters, finding another me, kind of half brain dead because his entire soul is in a rock. And we wound up getting him out of the rock, and then we had to deal with our wife, Ani, who did not handle it very well. But we wound up, over the course of years, building a second Ani for him, which we named Annie, who happened to be a Cylon, like a humanoid robot, who was so humanoid, thanks to a natural 20 rolled by Tiffany, that she actually gave birth to another set of twins, just like my Ani gave birth to a set of twins. And the rest of the game was this weird shell game of if I was Shawn, if I was John, am I talking to Annie or Ani, and whose kids are whose? And ultimately, at the end of the game, started collecting children because Tiffany would start going through these branches of non-time where time doesn't exist, but before time is destroyed, she had a chance to go through, and she kept collecting twins of dead me and Ani. There were a lot of dimensions where we had died, and bringing them back, and I started to become the Partridge Family of my own blood. It was very interesting.
Well, my favourite character was Mary Poppins Grills. And that's primarily because she's really the only character I've ever played. What character? What class, sorry? I don't know. I don't think she has a class. And she was played in the World of Darkness series. Yeah, my favourite story is just exploring how she reacts in certain situations. And she went to the dark side once. I really wanted to kind of murder this old guy who was really, really sweet and just made tea a lot. But she thought, well, that would be a resolution to the question of how can I get him back to his family? Well, I could kill him and then maybe eat him, and that'd be brilliant. Okay.